Hi there, everyone. Welcome to day 7. This is Sunday of Relaunch Week for the Vintage Sewing Machine Garage YouTube channel. And I am answering a question today that goes along with the theme of this entire week, which has been essentially questions that often come to me. I look at, all of us, we're all human and we all recognize patterns. And over the years, questions have come to me and I've gone in and tried to answer them. And they always typically come in either the comment section, and sometimes some of you got the email to the channel, which was listed, and you would try to reach out to me. Because you had a question about your machine and you care about your machines and you want to save them, and you see me saving or rescuing, as I like to say, vintage sewing machines. And early on in the history of this channel, I could do that because there were just a few of you. And today, there are over 5 million views on this channel. It keeps gathering views every day, and we're about to hit 41,000 subscribers. And so, because I really want to answer your questions, there's no way I can do that individually in the comments. And the other thing, of course, is that when you go looking for an answer, you can search on my channel. You can go into the search bar under videos and find videos under search terms, but finding answers to questions in the comments, YouTube doesn't really let you do that. So this week has all been about finding questions that I have answered many times. And now that I have, more than 100 people still wanting an answer to that question because they never, they can't find the question, I'm going to try to answer it. And I'm going to answer this one today. And I'm going to answer this question carefully because there are going to be lots of opinions about this question. And this question has often come to me. What is your favorite brand of vintage sewing machines? Now, as you can imagine, there are many discussions that are had online about, oh, I like this or I like that. And you have to remember, the way I look at sewing machines may not be the same as, say, for example, I have many of my viewers, a lot of you are sewers. And some of you have been sewing all your life, and as humble as you may be, I have seen some of the people who get machines from me. They show me things they've sewn, and I'm just like in awe because, well, the fact is, I might be able to, on a good day, sew a napkin, maybe a tablecloth or a pillowcase, and that's really pushing it for me. So I've always admired and just been so floored by the skills that many of you have. So just like with things like automobiles and other things, other consumer products, we all have certain favorites. We like certain brands, or maybe you like multiple brands, certain models. I'm talking about sewing machines here. But I'm going to answer this question from what I see and what I notice when I am trying to rescue a vintage machine. Vintage sewing machines were made in many countries, different models, different engineering, and you all have listened to me with great patience over the years talk about how amazing so many of these machines are. And I've covered all kinds of brands, and yes, even the European brands, which have some incredible designs and sewing capacity. I have always found a huge variety of machines to be impressed by in terms of the stitches they make, in terms of the power they have, the types of materials that you can create projects with. But at the end of the day, for me, my mission isn't sewing so much as helping to rescue and wake up vintage sewing machines. Many of them have been sitting for decades and not always in the best places, in basements and attics and barns. I literally found a machine in a barn once, true story, and there were goats running around it. So when I think about vintage sewing machines, I say to myself, how much time, effort, cost is going to be needed to bring this machine back so that once I have gone through the process of a full restoration, conservation, and many of my videos I illustrate and explain what that is, I want to get as many of these machines back in the hands of people who sew, whether you're a seasoned sewer, maybe you're just Maybe you're just wanting to get interested in sewing. A lot of people are. So from my perspective, and it may not be yours, so please put that in the comments, because if you sew on these incredible German Pfaffs, those Swiss Berninas that will just sew over multiple layers of fabric. If you sew satin stitches with Necki sewing machines, and they are a theme, they are like art, right? You've heard me go on and on about all of these brands. But in terms of the brand that I like the most, in terms of being able to get parts, to get access to the machine, those of you who've seen my channel, you probably guessed it, and if you haven't, I'll give you one hint. I have taken a nice soft blanket that just happens to be in a color that is very similar to the color of the accessory boxes that this brand once had back in its heyday. So I think you can probably guess, but some of you may not. And it's not a strange brand, it's not an exotic brand. But I can honestly tell you that I have never had a brand or models within a brand that were more accessible for me to get inside and work on. There will always be exceptions. There are exceptional models. This company didn't make everything perfect. And I can get parts. I can get vintage parts. I can get reproduction parts, even of the electricals. And I'm willing to say that if I were on a remote atoll somewhere in the Pacific, I could probably get parts. And I mean, come on. This is what allows me to restore more machines. So if I want to restore, say, a brand that didn't sell very well, or maybe it's a smaller company, I love those machines, and I've shown you. I mean, how many Anker, A-N-K-E-R, how many Anker machines have you ever seen me restore? I think I've worked on one, because I only ever found one, and and I was able to get parts and things for it. But I want to rescue as many machines as I can, and I want as many people to take on this hobby as I can. And some of the people who have watched my channel have said, you know what, you've got me interested either in sewing again, or maybe collecting machines, or maybe in restoring machines. And oh my gosh, that is so awesome. There were so many of these things in people's homes back in the day. And I could restore sewing machines. I could live to be 100, we'll see. And I could restore them for the rest of my life. And I'll barely, it's a drop in the ocean. So I'm so excited that many of you are. And I want to encourage those of you who are interested in either buying a machine, or just fixing your own, or getting into this hobby of rescuing and restoring vintage sewing machines. I want to make sure that you understand that any brand of vintage sewing machine that I have covered on this channel, and maybe brands I haven't got to yet, rescue them. Don't walk by them because of what I'm about to show you. But if you are trying to get into the hobby, or you just want to be able to find a vintage sewing machine that you can use, these machines are probably the most plentiful brand amongst many models. And there are parts out there like you wouldn't believe. So I'm going to take the blanket off, and you guys tell me if you guessed right. I don't think it's a very difficult guess. And it's this one. This brand is so iconic, and I just thought of another series I should do. I should talk about the history of different sewing brands. Wow, we could really get into the geeky, nerdy weeds on that. This brand is so iconic that I've actually seen some people who put sewing machines for sale, and they didn't know anything about sewing machines. They called it a Singer. They just said, this is a Singer for sale. It was a different brand. They just thought a Singer meant sewing machine. This is like when someone says, you've heard me say this before when I've talked about cotton swabs, and you've heard me say Q-tip, because it's a giant brand that we often, you're lucky if you have a brand that is so well known, people start to use it like a noun. But look at this. You are only looking at 3 of the many vintage models that the Singer company made over its long history. In the front, you see, and they're all in black. Now, black is not the only color of Singer's vintage sewing machines, but it's probably the most iconic color. because back in the day, almost every brand of sewing machine was in black, just like a lot of automobiles were painted black. So in the front, you're going to see that's the Singer 99 that I just have been working on. It's not done yet. And behind it is a Singer 301 with a extended, the larger size deck, 301A. This, of course, is the last Singer that was ever put in the color black that I'm aware of. And then behind that is a Singer 201. Now, the reason I chose these three Singer models to make this video is that these are the three Singers I have on hand at the moment. And it just happened to be that all three of them were in black. And they're some of the most amazing machines ever built. And there are other amazing Singers. And there are amazing Berninas and amazing Neckies, yes. But this is it. This is the brand that, well, it got me started. Look at my home page on YouTube. And for those of you who have gone to the Buy Me a Coffee, thank you. Please feel free to click on that link where it says Buy Me a Coffee. It takes you to the Buy Me a Coffee page, and you will see that same Singer 301. It wasn't in black. It was the first machine I ever restored. But that's not why I chose this brand. It's not because I'm nostalgic for that first machine. Who knows? I could have ended up restoring anything as my first machine. You can get parts for these machines. It's hard to believe. Some of these machines have been out of production for golly, 50, 60 years or more. But they're out there. And if you can't find a vintage part, which is unusual, you can get reproduction parts. Do you need a power cord? Very often the soft parts like the power cord and the little rubber bobbin winder tires, this winder is not moving yet. We haven't finished the overhaul of this machine yet. So when you want to start the hobby of vintage sewing machines, start with the machine you've got. It could be a different brand, a different model. Just save it. Don't let it go into the landfill. Don't let it go out by the curb and get picked up by the recycler. These machines are incredible, and they have different levels of condition when you find them. You guys have seen me find the ones that were just, oh my gosh, they were like cream puffs, and then, which is rare, and then a lot of them were basket cases, you know. This 301 still has cobwebs on it. I haven't gotten to it yet, but I don't care. I want to get your feedback and your comments. What do you think? What is your favorite brand of sewing machine to restore? Okay. And then if you have another favorite brand of sewing machine to sew with, that's almost a different question. It really is different. And I can't really tell you that because, well, I'm not a sewer. You folks are. But when you say favorite brand, is it just because it has a gorgeous stitch? I mean, a Husqvarna Viking, like you see on my channel, those lovely green free arm machines, they make incredible stitches. But they're harder for me to restore. I love restoring them, but they're not as straightforward and not as easy to get parts for, but I still love them anyway. So, this is the toughest question that I've had to answer this week. And I know, some of you may disagree. And if you do, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Put it in the comments and tell me what you think is your favorite brand of vintage sewing machine to tinker on, to work on, to restore, to maintain, maybe even just to oil. Let me know. Put it down there in the comments. And as you go through this channel, and we relaunched the channel, all the videos are here, everyone, from before. They haven't gone anywhere. But I'm putting a new focus on this, and I'm going to expand the machines that I want to find more machines and find more things to learn and to share with you so that you learn with me as we go through trying to rescue things that aren't made anymore. No, Singer doesn't make machines like Singer doesn't exist anymore. It's a brand now, but almost nothing in the consumer world is made like it used to be. And thankfully, not every vintage sewing machine is rare. Every one of these machines you see here were made in huge numbers. So let me know if you see anything on the channel that has inspired you or maybe just helped you fix something. Feel free to click on the link. Go to Buy Me a Coffee. You'll see my page there. And feel free to donate at whatever level you would like to. But whatever you do, help me rescue these machines. And if you get interested, maybe it's just for you. That's okay. Maybe it's for a friend. Or maybe you're going to go all in and start restoring machines And because once you start, it's kind of hard to stop. At least it was for me all those years ago, 12 years ago. So thank you all again for your support. Thank you for those of you who've been wondering where we went and you came back, you looked for us. And please subscribe. I have 5 million views and only almost 41,000 subscribers. So please feel free to subscribe. You can hit that little bell symbol. It tells you when I'm posting a new video. And I hope that whatever you choose to sew on or restore, you keep it running, because this is how prior generations took care of things. They maintained them, and they were built to last. Thank you all, and I will see you next time.